Race start for the feature race then at Sachsenring. Everybody getting away pretty cleanly, but a lot of left and right swiping action going on down into turn one. Late afternoon sun glinting off the beautiful F3 cars and all of their intricate liveries that we have. Reverse top 10, of course, from the sprint result. Albin Ylönen making moves early on here, and a hot favourite to secure a good, strong feature race podium as well. It's Reece in P3 there. Many Nova Motors cars in P2. This is where you start to see the difference between the drivers who finished at the bottom end of the top 10 and the chasing pack. Of course, Reece straight down, making short work of Patrick Mostowski, but unfortunately running wide, crossing back across the line and losing the rear wing. Drivers don't necessarily know that they've lost that rear wing. You can't see it in their mirrors. Mostowski losing a couple of places here. Albin Ylönen ready to pounce as usual. He moves forward, and then Noah Osbaldeston following through as well. Mostowski not putting up a great deal of fight here to his teammate, who's in the championship contention, of course. Albin Ylönen a little bit hampered on the way into the corner. We almost had four wide there for a moment as Witvoet, top driver at this stage of the championship, goes side by side with Ryan Gill. Takes a dive. Looks like we've got Prithvi close behind as well. But Witvoet fighting with Mostowski in the never-ending left-right switchbacks here at Sachsenring. Just getting the tail ahead there, but that was dangerous. We've seen Baseggio then 2 wheels up on over the gully of the curb, and then a big spin. Krassenburg into the car in front, possibly distracted by what was going on in front. Pablo Kyshkan and Alexander Mikalsen fight side by side. Zervos in the background, and we go slow-mo as Mikalsen, Kyshkan, and well, unfortunately, going skywards, and a multi-car accident, of course, there. Witvoet, Osbaldeston, Ylönen and Fontes, superstars here in F4. Almost forced into the move there down the inside. Got to be very, very careful. It's going to favour the light blue of Witvoet here at this point. Another 3 wide situation. Witvoet wise enough not to get involved and tangled up, but this was absolutely fantastic as they try to navigate 5 cars going in towards turn 1. Albin Ylönen lifting. That's going to allow the Nova car on the inside to have a look. Fontes in the Audi colours, trying to get back in line and not give up too many positions in that one sequence. Fighting continued though. We have obviously very tight action. Ryan Gill with the pink and blue. Mostowski showing him the inside, and well, Ryan Gill with his SimuCube sponsorship doesn't need a second invitation through there. Peutherer defending in the purple and yellow from Baseggio. Team Racing Point on the inside line on the way up the hill. Will he actually lose a bit of momentum on the way through? It looks like not. He managed to find the shorter route through the corner. As Fontes in the Audi colour scheme, trying to hold off Witvoet here, but is that just a matter of time? Witvoet, of course, making his way back towards the podium then after winning the sprint race. Tucked him around the outside, just patiently waiting for the track to come to him and the racing line to be his. Into the Castrol Omega then. And the classic outside to inside. Fontes loses 2 positions because hot on the heels there was Albin Ylönen. It's becoming an ongoing theme throughout our championship. Andre Sousa with the magenta wheels and the Eco Motorsports aqua colour scheme. Start of lap 4, and Mostowski absolutely sends it down the inside. Invites the rest of the drivers to make their own arrangements. Tries to pin Prithvi to the inside line here. Tries to stop him getting to the racing line, to the proper braking zone. Prithvi obviously still pretty nervous to get involved too much after a string of unfortunate events for Prithvi. Just waiting for his good luck to finally come around. Lap 5, and Mostowski. Finally, Prithvi, his patience is rewarded. Unfortunately for him, though, Rodrigo Bassalo makes his way through as well. Here's Kyshkan. Losing the car, unfortunately, from 16th position. Parked on the racing line, and Roman Sorakiewski heads on through. Ukraine overall staying pretty stable, just losing out to Hungary there as Danko makes his way through as well. Ilya Rakitin staunchly holding on to this provisional win through to this midpoint of lap 5. It's a bit of a disappearing act. Always a nervous moment there for our drivers. Rakitin occasionally, his internet connection just letting him down entirely. Noah Osbaldeston here just fighting sometimes with a ghost and making sure he leaves that extra half a metre. Doing a great job. Sousa for Eco Motorsports chases down the blue and pink of Ryan Gill here for SG&H Racing Team. SJ&H, excuse me, Racing Team as they head in. And there you go, just trying to turn in. Sousa almost making his way by. Unfortunately, Ryan Gill had already lost his traction. He makes it into the pit lane. I don't think Sousa's car will turn that strongly before crossing the white line. He did in the end, but made it back to the pit lane. Limited turning circle at very slow speeds. Of course, no downforce at slow speed on these F4 machines. Bernardin versus Devine. Bernardin in the green, and that was the follow through as they come to finish out lap 7. Devine clearing Bernardin, who comes straight back at him down the inside line. Remember though, after the right-hander comes a left-hander, so it's awkward, difficult to regain those positions. Bernardin regaining very nicely. Synchronized driving from both of them. Lock up in front of Mostowski there. It's Bassalo in the 22. You can visibly see the effect of the dirty air as they come through that time. Very tricky, very tricky to make it work. Luciano Witvoet in third behind Rakitin, who lost out of course to Osbaldeston. Witvoet keen to make this a 2-horse race as the car blinks in and out for Witvoet. Right as he is nose to tail, whereas earlier Osbaldeston was side by side with a blinking car. This time Witvoet is right, tucked up directly behind with Rakitin. Nervous moments here for our championship leader Luciano Witvoet. Rakitin, a veteran of the Ukrainian Racing League, of course. And finally Witvoet managing to complete the move, but that took an awful lot of work and patience. Albin Ylönen then the next driver to close in, trying to end up with our absolute superstars at the front of the grid here through the feature race. Lap 10, and it's complete once again. Then Bassalo holding off Mostowski. Mostowski working the wheel hard here, applying the pressure. Can he make our Portuguese eco driver make a mistake? There's the first indicator as Bassalo understeers on the way through 11 in towards 12 Saxon curve, and then it will be climbing the hill through the slower 13 Mostowski down the inside. Bassalo doesn't panic, but unfortunately once again the car just understeering wide. Bassalo with a very clear defence to the inside line there. Tries to place his car in the best place, but Mostowski, wow. I mean, he took an early turn in, but you can't expect the driver just to turn. From that angle, it looks like Bassalo was happy to take him wide, and that looked a lot more sinister than I imagine it actually was, as Mostowski will certainly be subject to review after that incident, I'm sure. Bernardin would have had a reasonable idea of what was happening in front there. Once again, we go side by side for a tiny amount of time. Bernardin feeling like he has the car underneath him a little bit more here than Mostowski. Down the inside we go. Mostowski with no answer that time as Bernardin makes his way by. A very clean overtake from the Frenchman. And now Brandon Devine tries to go down the inside. His teammate just completely chops across. I think he was lifting, but that almost ended in disaster. Thankfully, all is well. The blue Luciano Witvoet against Nova Motors team leader in our championship, Noah Osbaldeston. Witvoet with a tremendous run here. Osbaldeston not panicking, but there you go. Luciano Witvoet. I don't think you'll find a much better timed pass than that. Tremendous overtake. As there's a spin in the background as well. Another Nova Motors car goes begging in the background. Pablo Kyshkan in the purple and yellow, chasing down Marcos Zervos. Ukraine versus Greece at this point, as Kyshkan relinquishes the position and then very quickly retakes it. Witvoet against Osbaldeston continues deep into lap 16 as it's pit stop time for the drivers. In we go. And it will be at least some fuel, if not a change of tyres. Wait to see if the drivers hop up on the jacks here. The two leaders do not, but Osbaldeston trailing Witvoet, leading Witvoet in. Witvoet losing a shade of time on his way out of the pit box, but all looked pretty good for them on the way out. Actually losing a significant amount of time as other drivers were entering and leaving the pits around Witvoet. He may have put a little extra fuel in, or had to have used a bit more fuel battling with other drivers through the course of the first half of the feature. Baseggio in second for just a few moments because he hadn't made that pit stop naturally. Fairly inevitable situation. Reece Wheels then with a good run coming up upon Ryan Gill side by side. Car on its way out of the pits as well, and Reece Wheels completes a beautiful, well-worked overtake with then Augusto Fontes next up in line here. Pitching downhill, Fontes making his intentions very clear to the inside here. Looked like Gill slightly slidey through the corner behind the tree, and Fontes through once again through the double left section of the raceway and back onto the main straight. Out of the pits comes Baseggio, getting tangled up straight away, and was that move on? Let's have a look at it in close detail. Well, front wing to rear tyre. I have to say, something to rebuild, and Oh, it's such a difficult situation getting started back up again with overheated tyres. You can see already all of the marbles on the outside of the turn. Bassalo testing the grip, and yeah, it's just departing from him. He turns into his teammate, unfortunately, Carvalho, and what a knock-on effect there. The absolute dictionary definition of an unsafe rejoin, potentially. Kyra Krassenburg with her teammate in lockstep, making the lapping maneuver. Witvoet chasing down Noah Osbaldeston. Clears. That's very fair from Kyra, but that's a lot less fair, unfortunately. Kyra tagging the back of Witvoet, misjudging the pace into the corner. Lock up from Witvoet this time. Fontes back on the tail of Reece, who does like hanging the tail out through the left-hander there. Leaving the inside open. Be a classic switchback manoeuvre potentially coming, but Fontes with a great overtake. Finally, Witvoet has some clear track to play with here as he tries to make a decisive move on lap 21. Tucked up in the wheel tracks. So dangerous. Touching the dirt on the inside just to try and get that underlap, and he makes it underneath of Noah Osbaldeston. Massive moment in the championship as Witvoet takes Osbaldeston for the lead. We have Prithvi in his yellow and black livery against our Hungarian ace. Lapped runner behind them. Doesn't want to get into the mix here. Prithvi scything into the final corner there. Beautiful overtake from Prithvi up to P5. Did he lose momentum though? He's certainly wary enough to stay on the inside line. Heading into turn one, the Coca-Cola, and back around the outside. Tries Gergo Danko anyway. Lick of smoke out of the rear left tyre as it becomes unloaded. Gergo Danko back ahead then. Tremendous the way this circuit plays out. Prithvi once again, next lap to the outside. Difficult turning through there. Dust in his face, Prithvi. Climbing the hill then, the best opportunity for a slipstream. Wheels to the outside. There was room on the inside for Prithvi at that point. Two wheels over on the apron on the pit lane exit. Needs to get the drive on really early through the apex. And he's got such a good run, but the track's just too short for Prithvi right now through the Castrol Omega. Back uphill again. Prithvi shadowing Gergo Danko. Now Gergo spills the car. And it wasn't by himself. Prithvi into the back of him just as Gergo's turning in. The weight is on the front right of the car, and the tiniest bit of contact. You could turn that car around if you could hold one finger out of the cockpit, and that had knock-on effects for Gill as well. Out into the dirt, trying to avoid disaster. Car's avoiding damage there, but Prithvi will be under investigation for that manoeuvre. Ryan Gill, Gergo Danko, feeling as if this race owes him a little bit. Good exit out of the corner, and he retakes his position, at least one anyway. Reece on the back of the Audi liveried Augusto Fontes from Brazil. Reece our highest I-rated driver, and there's Fontes out in the dust and the dirt. That opens the door. Reece straight through the gap, and beautiful overtake, although as he lost momentum up the hill offline, he needs to hug this inside line, and he's doing so. Tricky because it was a paved section, becomes a grass section. If you cross that line, car's tangling. Couldn't apportion blame at first view there, but what is clear is that Reece has got ahead. For now anyway, as Fontes crosses over the dirty air behind Reece Wills, losing traction. Lap 30, deep waters of our feature race. Fontes back in the dirt again on the exit, out of the left-hander, and Reece Wills is out of fuel right at the end of the race. Reece Wills miscalculating his fuel load. The cars go through, and here is Witvoet passing Bassalo, who is being lapped. Bassalo elbowing his way back in between the lead runners. We hate to see this towards the end of a feature race when a lapped runner gets involved in the potential win. No team affiliations here between Bassalo and Osbaldeston. Osbaldeston moving around in Bassalo's mirrors, but this is not desirable at all for Noah Osbaldeston or for bringing us home to a challenging end to this race. Oh, Osbaldeston forced offline to take the inside line, and it's a win for Luciano Witvoet. It's Noah Osbaldeston in second, and our podium is completed by Albin, Ylönen, Ilya Rakitin in fourth, Prithvi in fifth, and Augusto Fontes in sixth position, with Andre Sousa in seventh. Reece Wills comes home in eighth position, ahead of Gogo Danko and Ryan Gill, rounding out the top 10. Marwan Bernardin crosses the line in 11th, followed by Patrick Mostowski, Brandon Devine, James Peutherer and Thomas Baseggio.
Like, considering the circumstances, I bought this track 2 days ago and haven't driven it one single lap before then. So I maybe had like 20 or 30 laps under my belt before joining the practice session here today. And I think it went quite good. In the first race I had a little bit of contact in the beginning. And I don't know if I got any damage from that or not. I don't have any button on my wheel that can tell me if I have damage or not. But the car felt quite good. Luciano behind was very fast, very hard to keep him behind me, and once he went past me I knew that I was gonna have a hard time to stay behind him, and of course later I got taken out by I don't know who it was, but it doesn't really matter, and I don't really know if it was my fault or his fault. It looked like in the replay like he drifted out into me, which is a shame, but stuff like that happens. Recovered quite well. I think I got like P4 or something in the end in the first race, and then in the second race I started P6 I think, and had quite a good start there. Overtook like 1 or 2 cars in the beginning, had a 4X, and I thought I got some damage because the car started to understeer a lot, but I think that was just my tires that got quite cooked in the beginning. And when I saw Noah and Luciano leave in the distance, I thought, oh shit, this is gonna be a tough task to catch up to them. Because I saw that Noah just was following Luciano around, and of course he's 7k iRating, so he's extremely quick. So I had a little bit of a fight with Ilya, and he was blinking quite a lot, so it was quite scary to overtake him, but I got it done in the end. And then by the pit stop I think I had like 2 or 3 seconds on him, so smooth sailing from there. I just drove quite safe laps from that point on.
I mean, both races were quite okay. I think race 2 was a little bit chaotic here and there, and struggling with the blue flags on some occasions, but I think all in all it was a fairly decent result.
Do you spend a huge amount of time for preparation?
Sometimes. For this one, I did laps yesterday, did a few hours, so yeah, it should have been more, but it worked out in the end. I mean, with open wheels, it's always, you have to avoid the other cars a little bit more than with the normal sports cars. So it's just keeping the car away from, I mean, the carnage that unfolded on lap 1. I was lucky enough that I locked up into turn 1 and I went wide. So that really saves me, I think, from all the carnage. I managed to go around the outside in turn 3. And then basically everything happened behind me.
So do you think you got lucky there, or was it just pure massive crash avoidance skill?
No, there is definitely luck involved, especially in these open wheel cars. There's if someone spins in front of you and there's nothing you can do, you need a little bit of luck.
Yeah, or quite a lot sometimes.
Yeah.
But I mean, the sprint race was a bit epic with 5 cars, I think, going wide into each other under braking. in turn 1 or something like that. Yeah, it was. Oh, that was crazy. But overall, how was your race? The feature race was a bit interesting by the end, as far as I could have seen, with a lapped car not so willing to let you by, you and Noah.
Yeah, that was quite surprising. I already had issues with a lap car early on the race where I got hit from behind. So that gave me some wheel damage. That wasn't ideal. And then in the end, I was using him for the slipstream, and I was surprised when I was on the straight and I was moving to the right. He was trying to squeeze me a little bit. An odd move to do with your blue flag. And then I saw behind and he was also holding up Noah. So I figured, that's my golden ticket to the win. I don't have to do anything anymore, but it's kind of sad that it had to end that way.